The ground beneath Specialist Maya Voss trembled violently as alarms blared through the underground research facility. She sprinted down the metal corridor, her breathing ragged, the taste of copper on her tongue. Behind her, the sound of metal twisting and groaning echoed through the space, a deafening reminder that the experiment had gone catastrophically wrong. "Status!" Maya shouted as she burst into the central control room. The space was a storm of flashing red lights, frantic technicians, and screens displaying incomprehensible data. At the heart of the chaos, the rift stabilizer loomed, a massive, pulsing machine that emitted a blinding light. The quantum field collapsed during Phase 3, Dr. Anik Shah said, his voice tight with panic. "We tried to contain it, but a thunderous boom shook the facility, cutting him off. The stabilizer surged, its energy field expanding outward like ripples in a pond." Maya shielded her eyes, her heart pounding. She had spent months training for this mission, but nothing had prepared her for the sight before her. The rift wasn't just a tear in space, it was a window into somewhere else. Beyond the shimmering barrier was a landscape that defied comprehension. The sky was a swirling mass of violet and gold, and the ground shimmered like liquid glass. Figures moved within, their shapes fluid and impossible, their presence both alluring and deeply unsettling. "We need to shut it down," Maya said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "before it destabilizes any further." "We can't," Shah replied, his hands flying across the console. "The system's locked into a feedback loop. If we cut the power, the rift could collapse and take half the planet with it." Maya's jaw tightened. She glanced at the rift again, her instincts warring with her training. The window was widening, its edges crackling with energy. And then, to her horror, something stepped through. The figure was humanoid but otherworldly. Its skin was smooth and metallic, its eyes glowing with an intense light that seemed to pierce through her. It moved with a fluid grace, its head tilting as it scanned the room. "We have a breach," Maya shouted, drawing her sidearm. "Get containment units in here now." The alien didn't react to her voice, its attention fixed on the stabilizer. It raised a hand, its fingers elongating into thin, shimmering tendrils. The air around it rippled as it reached toward the machine. "Don't let it touch the stabilizer," Shah yelled, his voice rising with panic. Maya took aim, her hands steady despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. "Step away from the machine," she ordered. But the alien ignored her, its tendrils inches from the stabilizer. Before she could fire, a second figure emerged from the rift. This one was human, or at least it looked human. A man in a tattered uniform staggered forward, his face pale and his movements unsteady. He stumbled to the ground, gasping for breath. "Close it," the man rasped, his voice barely audible. "You have to close it." Maya's mind raced. She had trained for containment scenarios, for first contact, for threats she couldn't imagine. But this was beyond any simulation. The rift was growing unstable, the alien was interfering with the stabilizer, and now a stranger from another world was lying on the floor, begging her to do the impossible. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice sharp. The man lifted his head, his eyes wild. "I'm you," he said, "from another universe. And if you don't act now, none of us will survive." The room fell silent, save for the hum of the rift and the sporadic crackle of energy coursing through the stabilizer. Maya stared at the man, her mind racing to process his words. He was gaunt, his uniform torn and scorched, his face a mirror of her own, but older, weathered by an existence she couldn't begin to fathom. "Shut it down," the man, her alternate self, repeated, his voice hoarse. "You don't understand what's coming. The rift, it's a beacon, and they've already seen it." Maya turned to Shah, her chest tightening. "Is he right? Is it acting as a signal?" Shah hesitated, his hands flying over the console. "The energy output is off the charts," he said. "It's possible the rift is creating waves, echoes that could attract something. But we don't have confirmation of." "You don't need confirmation," the man interrupted, struggling to his feet. "I've seen it happen. I've lived it. They'll come through the rift, and when they do, they'll tear this world apart, just like they did mine." Maya's grip tightened on her sidearm. She turned to the alien, who remained focused on the stabilizer. Its tendrils pulsed with energy, its glowing eyes unblinking as it manipulated the machine. "What is it doing?" she demanded. Shah's voice wavered. I think it's trying to stabilize the rift, but it's not following any protocol we understand. It's operating on a completely different set of rules." Maya's pulse quickened. "Is it helping us or making it worse?" Shah shook his head. "I don't know." The alien's tendrils withdrew, and it turned to face Maya. Its gaze was unreadable, its movements fluid and deliberate. When it spoke, its voice resonated in her mind, bypassing language entirely. "Your rift is unstable, it said. Your technology is primitive. If you do not close it, your world will be consumed. Maya's breath caught. Consumed by what? The alien's eyes flared with light. The void, it said simply, a force that devours worlds. It exists beyond your understanding, and it has already begun to breach your reality. The words hung heavy in the air. Maya turned to her team, her voice sharp. Shah, options. Now. Shah's hands trembled as he worked. We can try to overload the stabilizer, he said. Force the rift to collapse on itself. But it's risky. The energy release could destroy the facility, and us with it. And if we don't? Maya pressed. Shah hesitated, his gaze flicking to the alternate Maya. If he's right, the consequences could be far worse. The rift pulsed violently, its energy surging outward. The ground shook, and a deafening hum filled the air. Maya's heart pounded as she made her decision. Do it, she said. Prepare for an overload. Shah nodded, his movements frantic. The team sprang into action, their fear overshadowed by the urgency of the moment. Maya turned to the alien, her grip on her weapon steady. If you're here to help, now's the time to prove it, she said. The alien tilted its head, its tendrils flickering with energy. You cannot face the void alone, it said. But your determination is admirable. Maya scowled. Save the compliments. Just tell me what you can do. The alien stepped forward, its presence commanding. I will anchor the rift, it said. But the stabilizer must be synchronized with my energy. Your primitive systems will not suffice on their own. Shah's voice crackled over the intercom. We're ready for the overload. Just give the word. Maya turned to the alternate version of herself. What about you? Do you have anything useful to add? The man, her other self, smiled faintly, the expression filled with exhaustion. Just this, he said. You'll make the right call. You always do. Maya swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She turned to the rift, its light flickering erratically. Shah, she said. Do it. Engage the overload. The stabilizer roared to life, its systems straining as it channeled energy into the rift. The alien raised its tendrils, its light intensifying as it interfaced with the machine. The room shook violently, the air thick with heat and tension. The rift pulsed once, twice, and then contracted. The light collapsed inward, the hum rising to a deafening crescendo. Maya shielded her eyes as the room was consumed by a blinding flash. When the light faded, the rift was gone. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of the stabilizer winding down. Maya lowered her weapon, her chest heaving with relief. Status, she said, her voice hoarse. Shah's voice crackled over the intercom. The rift is sealed. Energy levels are stabilizing. We did it. Maya turned to the alien, its light dim but steady. What happens now? She asked. The alien's gaze was inscrutable. The void will not stop, it said. You have delayed its arrival, but the breach has left scars. Your world is now part of a larger conflict. Prepare yourselves. Before Maya could respond, the alien stepped back, its form dissolving into a cascade of light. The room fell silent once more, the weight of its words sinking in. Maya turned to her team, her expression grim. We're not done, she said. This was just the beginning. The aftermath of the rift's closure left the facility in a fragile state. The stabilizer, its systems strained beyond their limits, emitted a low, uneven hum. The air was heavy with the scent of scorched metal and ozone, and the team moved with the careful precision of those who knew the smallest mistake could spell disaster. Maya stood in the control room, her gaze fixed on the viewport where the rift had been. Though it was gone, its presence lingered, a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer in the air. She couldn't shake the alien's parting words. Your world is now part of a larger conflict. Shah approached her, a datapad in hand. His face was pale, his movements slow. We've stabilized the core systems, he said, but the damage to the stabilizer is extensive. If we have another event like this, I don't think it'll hold. Maya nodded, her jaw tight. We won't have another event, she said. Not if we stay ahead of this. Shah hesitated. And how do we do that? He asked. We don't even know what we're dealing with. The alien mentioned the void, but we have no data, no way to prepare. We start by figuring out what caused the rift in the first place, Maya said. And we learn everything we can about the void. If the alien was right, this isn't just about us anymore. It's about every world connected by these rifts. Her words hung in the air, the weight of their implications sinking in. The team dispersed, their exhaustion evident, but Maya remained at the viewport. Her reflection stared back at her, a reminder of the man, her alternate self, who had warned her of the dangers ahead. You'll make the right call, he had said. But what if the right call wasn't enough? Days turned into weeks as the team worked tirelessly to analyze the data from the rift event. The fragmentary readings painted a picture of chaos, energy signatures that defied known physics, patterns that hinted at a larger, interconnected system. Shah likened it to a spider's spider's web, with the rifts acting as threads that linked dimensions together. If the void is trying to consume these threads, Sha said during a briefing, it's not just about destroying individual worlds. It's about unraveling the entire web. If they succeed, the multiverse could collapse. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. And if the web collapses, she said, what happens to us? Sha didn't answer, but the look on his face said enough. The breakthrough came when one of the junior technicians, Nadia, discovered a faint signal embedded in the rift's residual energy. It was weak, barely distinguishable from the background noise, but its patterns were deliberate. It's a message, Nadia said, her voice tinged with excitement. Someone or something is trying to communicate. The signal, when decoded, revealed a set of coordinates. They pointed to a location deep in uncharted space, a region known only as the Void Expanse. The data suggested that the coordinates were tied to another rift, one that had not yet destabilized. This could be our chance, Maya said during the briefing. If we can reach that rift, we might be able to learn more about the void and how to stop it. Sha frowned. It's a huge risk, he said. We have no idea what's out there. And if the stabilizer fails, Maya met his gaze, her expression resolute. It's a risk we have to take, she said. If we wait, the void will come to us. I'd rather meet it on our terms. The mission was approved, and the team prepared for their journey into the unknown. The stabilizer was patched and calibrated to create a controlled rift, one that would allow them to travel to the coordinates without destabilizing their reality. The process was delicate, the calculations precise, but failure was not an option. When the rift opened, it was smaller and more stable than before. Beyond its shimmering surface lay a void unlike anything they had imagined. The sky was a swirling mass of black and violet, dotted with faint, flickering lights. The air seemed to hum with energy, each breath a challenge. The team stepped through, their senses overwhelmed by the alien landscape. The ground beneath their feet was smooth and reflective, like liquid glass frozen in time. In the distance, a massive structure loomed, a spire of light and shadow that seemed to pulse with life. That's where the signal is coming from, Sha said, his voice hushed. Maya nodded, her heart pounding. Let's move, she said. Stay together and keep your comms open. As they approached the spire, the air grew heavier, the hum of energy intensifying. Figures began to emerge from the shadows, beings of light and darkness, their forms shifting and fluid. They moved with purpose, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The team froze, their weapons raised. Maya stepped forward, her voice steady. We're not here to fight, she said. We're here to understand. One of the beings stepped forward, its form coalescing into something more humanoid. Its voice resonated in their minds, a melodic hum that bypassed language entirely. You are not of this place, it said. Why have you come? Maya hesitated, her instincts warning her to tread carefully. We followed a signal, she said. We're trying to understand the rifts and the void. We want to protect our world. The being's eyes glowed brighter. The void is a force of unmaking, it said. It seeks to consume the balance that binds all worlds together. If you wish to protect your world, you must restore the balance. How? Maya asked. What do we need to do? The being gestured toward the spire. Within lies the nexus, it said, a source of connection between dimensions. But the void has corrupted it. If the nexus falls, the balance will collapse, and all worlds will be consumed. Maya turned to her team, her expression grim. Then we fix it, she said. No matter what it takes. The spire loomed over the team as they moved closer, its pulsing light casting long shadows across the alien landscape. The beings of light and shadow moved aside, their forms dissipating like mist as the team approached the nexus. The air grew heavier, the hum of energy vibrating through their bodies. Inside the spire, the nexus came into view, a massive crystalline structure suspended in the center of the chamber. Its surface shimmered with shifting patterns of light, but cracks spread across its surface, emitting pulses of chaotic energy. The sight sent a chill through Maya's chest. It's destabilizing, Sha said, his voice tight. If the void's corruption spreads any further, it'll collapse completely. Maya turned to the being that had guided them. How do we stop it? She asked. The being extended a hand, its glowing fingers pointing toward the nexus. The balance must be restored, it said. You must remove the corruption and realign the energy flows. But the void will not allow this. It will fight to protect what it has claimed. Before Maya could respond, a deafening roar echoed through the chamber. The ground trembled as shadowy tendrils erupted from the cracks in the nexus, twisting and writhing like living things. The air grew cold, and the light of the nexus dimmed. Here they come, Maya muttered, raising her weapon. Sha, Emmett, get to the consoles and figure out how to realign the energy flows. Nadia, cover their flank. Cole, you're with me. We hold the line. The team moved into position, their training kicking in as the tendrils of shadow surged toward them. Maya fired her weapon. The plasma plasma rounds cutting through the darkness, but the tendrils reformed as quickly as they were destroyed. The void's presence was suffocating, a weight that pressed down on them with every passing moment. "We can't keep this up," Cole shouted, his voice strained. "They just keep coming." Maya gritted her teeth, her mind racing. "Sha, what's the status?" she demanded. Sha's voice crackled over the comm. "We're working on it. The energy flows are completely out of sync. It's like trying to untangle a web while it's on fire. Work faster." Maya snapped, her focus never wavering as she fired at another tendril. The void's forces were relentless, their attacks growing more coordinated as they pressed closer to the team. Suddenly, a surge of light erupted from the nexus. One of the beings of light and shadow stepped forward, its form glowing brighter than the others. It raised its hands, and a wave of energy swept through the chamber, pushing back the tendrils and buying the team a brief respite. "We cannot hold them for long," the being said, its voice resonating with urgency. "You must act now." Maya nodded, her determination hardening. "Sha, tell me what you need." "We need to synchronize the stabilizer's frequency with the nexus," Sha said, "but the controls here are barely functional. Someone's gonna have to do it manually." From inside the energy field, Maya's heart sank. Entering the energy field was a death sentence. The sheer power of the nexus would tear apart anything that entered it. But there was no other choice. "You focus on the synchronization," Maya said. "I'll handle the manual adjustments." "Captain, no," Sha protested. "If you go in there, that's an order," Maya said sharply. "This is bigger than me, bigger than all of us. Just get it done." Without waiting for a response, Maya stepped toward the nexus. The energy field crackled and flared, the light almost blinding. She could feel its pull, a force that seemed to reach into her very being. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the field. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. It felt as though her body was being torn apart and reassembled all at once. Her vision blurred, the world dissolving into a kaleidoscope of light and shadow. But she forced herself to focus, her hands reaching for the glowing nodes that controlled the nexus's energy flow. "We're in sync," Sha shouted over the comm. "Just a little more." Maya gritted her teeth, her body trembling as she adjusted the final node. The energy surged, the light intensifying until it filled the entire chamber. The tendrils of shadow writhed and screamed, their forms dissolving into nothingness as the nexus's power consumed them. And then, with a final burst of light, the nexus stabilized. The chamber fell silent, the oppressive weight of the void lifted. Maya staggered out of the energy field, her body weak but intact. Her team rushed to her side, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. "You did it," Sha said, his voice thick with emotion. "The nexus is restored." Maya nodded, her gaze fixed on the now stable nexus. "We did it," she said softly, "but this isn't the end. The void is still out there, and it's not going to stop." The being of light and shadow approached her, its form shimmering. "You have proven your strength and resolve," it said. "The nexus is safe for now, but the battle for the balance is eternal. You must remain vigilant." Maya met its gaze, her exhaustion giving way to determination. "We will," she said. "This is just the beginning." As the team returned to their world, the nexus's light followed them, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. The fight was far from over, but they were ready. Together, they would protect the balance and ensure that the light would endure. In the weeks that followed, the team worked tirelessly to analyze the restored nexus. Its energy flowed steadily, but its fragility was a constant reminder of the battle they had fought. The beings of light and shadow, now known as the Luminal, remained as silent guardians, their forms flickering at the edges of the nexus like sentinels watching over a precious treasure. Maya spent long hours in the control room, her gaze fixed on the data streams that detailed the nexus's stability. The Luminal's warning echoed in her mind. The battle for the balance is eternal. She knew that the restoration of the nexus was only a temporary reprieve. The void was still out there, and it would not rest until it consumed everything. One evening, as the station's hum filled the quiet air, a new signal appeared on the monitors. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but its patterns were deliberate. Sha and Nadia joined her in the control room, their curiosity piqued. "Another signal?" Sha asked, leaning over the console. Maya nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "It's not from the nexus," she said. "It's coming from beyond the void expanse. Something or someone is trying to reach us." The signal resolved slowly, its patterns forming a series of glyphs that glowed faintly on the screen. Nadia gasped as the glyphs pulsed with energy, their meaning becoming clear. "It's a message," Nadia said, her voice tinged with awe. "It's inviting us." The message included coordinates to a location far beyond their known space, a region marked on their maps as the abyssal threshold. The data suggested that this location was another convergence point, a place where the boundaries between dimensions were thinner than anyone anywhere else. It could be a trap, Sha said, his tone cautious. If the void intercepted the Nexus's energy, it might be trying to lure us into another battle. Or it could be an ally, Maya countered. Someone who understands the void better than we do. If there's a chance to learn more, we have to take it. The team prepared for the journey, their resolve tempered by the risks they knew they faced. The stabilizer was calibrated to create a controlled rift, one that would transport them to the coordinates without destabilizing their reality. The process was delicate, but their experience gave them confidence. When the rift opened, it revealed a void unlike anything they had seen before. The abyssal threshold was a realm of endless blackness, dotted with faint points of light that pulsed rhythmically. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to shift and ripple like liquid shadow. The coordinates led them to a structure that defied comprehension, a massive sphere of light and darkness, its surface covered in shifting glyphs. The sphere pulsed with energy, its presence both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. "This is it," Sha said, his voice hushed. The source of the signal. As they approached the sphere, the glyphs began to glow brighter, their patterns shifting to form a doorway. The team hesitated, their instincts warning them of the danger that lay ahead. But Maya stepped forward, her expression resolute. "We've come this far," she said. "We're not turning back now." The doorway opened, revealing a chamber bathed in soft light. At its center stood a figure, tall, humanoid, and surrounded by an aura of shimmering energy. Its eyes glowed with an intense light, and its presence filled the chamber with a sense of calm and purpose. "Welcome," the figure said, its voice resonating in their minds. "You have restored the Nexus, but your journey is far from over. The void is a force that seeks to unravel the balance, but it is not invincible. There is a way to stop it, to seal the veil permanently." Maya stepped forward, her heart pounding. "What do we need to do?" she asked. The figure raised a hand, and a cascade of glyphs filled the air, forming a map of the multiverse. At its center was the Nexus, its light connected to countless worlds by threads of energy. The void's influence spread like dark tendrils, reaching for the Nexus with relentless determination. "The Nexus must be fortified," the figure said. "Its energy is the anchor that holds the balance in place. But to do so, you must harness the light of the luminal, a power that can only be awakened by those who truly understand the value of connection." Maya's mind raced. "How do we awaken it?" she asked. The figure's eyes glowed brighter. "You must journey to the luminal core," it said, "a place where the light of the luminal burns brightest. There, you will find the answers you seek, but the void will not let you succeed without a fight." The path ahead was daunting, the risks unimaginable, but Maya knew they had no choice. The balance of the multiverse depended on their success. And as she turned to her team, their expressions a mix of fear and determination, she felt a spark of hope. "We've faced the void before," she said. "We'll face it again." Together, the journey to the luminal core marked the beginning of a new chapter in their fight against the void. The stakes had never been higher, but neither had their resolve. And as they stepped through the rift, the light of the Nexus guiding their way, they knew one thing for certain. The battle for the balance was far from over, but as long as they stood together, the light would endure. The path to the luminal core was fraught with challenges. The rift they entered led them to a realm of shifting light and shadow, where the boundaries of reality seemed to blur. The air was thick with an energy that vibrated through their bones, and the landscape was a chaotic mix of crystalline formations and swirling voids. As they moved deeper into the realm, the void's presence became more apparent. Tendrils of darkness slithered through the air, their movements slow and deliberate. The team stayed close, their weapons at the ready, their senses heightened. "We're getting close," Sha said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The energy signatures are intensifying." Maya nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon where a towering structure loomed. The luminal core pulsed with a light that shifted between colors, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. It was both beautiful and foreboding, a beacon of hope and a reminder of the battle they faced. As they approached the core, the void struck. A massive tendril erupted from the ground, its form coiling and twisting as it lashed toward the team. Maya rolled to the side, her weapon blazing as she fired at the tendril. The plasma rounds tore through the darkness, but the void reformed almost instantly. "Stay together," Maya shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Protect the core at all costs." The luminal, sensing the danger, appeared from the shadows. Their glowing forms joined the fight, their energy clashing with the void's darkness in bursts of light. The battle was fierce, the air filled with the sound of energy crackling and weapons firing. Sha and Nadia worked quickly to interface with the core, their hands flying over the alien controls. The core's energy surged, its light growing brighter as they activated its systems. But the void was relentless, its tendrils multiplying multiplying and pressing closer. Maya, we need more time, Sha called out, his voice strained. You'll get it, Maya replied, her tone resolute. Hold the line. The ground shook as a massive figure emerged from the darkness. It was a manifestation of the void itself, a towering entity of shadow and chaos. Its presence was suffocating, its form shifting and rippling as it moved toward the core. Maya's heart pounded, but she refused to falter. She raised her weapon, her team at her side, and charged toward the creature. The battle was brutal, every moment a test of their resolve. The void fought with a ferocity that seemed unstoppable, but the team pressed on, their determination unwavering. We're almost there, Sha shouted. Just a little longer. Maya fired at the creature, her shots finding their mark. The void roared, its form flickering as the luminal joined their assault. The core's light grew blinding, its energy reaching a crescendo. Now, Sha yelled. Maya turned to the core, her chest tight with anticipation. The luminal raised their hands, their light merging with the core's energy. A wave of light erupted from the structure, consuming the void in a blinding surge. When the light faded, the void was gone. The luminal core pulsed steadily, its energy restored. The team stood in stunned silence, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and relief. We did it, Sha said, his voice barely audible. The core is stable. Maya sank to her knees, her weapon slipping from her grasp. It's over, she said softly. At least for now. The luminal approached them, their forms glowing brightly. You have done well, one of them said. The balance is restored, and the void has been pushed back. But the battle is eternal. You must remain vigilant. Maya nodded, her exhaustion giving way to determination. We will, she said. Thank you for everything. The team returned to their world, the core's light guiding them home. The Nexus, now fortified by the luminal's energy, stood as a beacon of hope against the void. The battle was far from over, but they were stronger than ever. Years passed, and the network of beacons expanded across the multiverse. The light of the Nexus inspired countless worlds to join the fight, their unity a testament to the power of connection. Maya, now older and wiser, watched as a new generation of Guardians took up the mantle. We've come so far, she said one evening, standing before the crystalline vessel that housed the core's energy. And there's still so much to do. The light of the Nexus pulsed gently, a quiet acknowledgement of her words. Maya smiled, her heart filled with hope. The void would always be a threat, but so would the courage and unity of those who stood against it. And as long as the light burned, there was hope, a hope that no darkness could extinguish. The legacy of the Nexus endured, its light spreading across dimensions like a thread weaving the multiverse together. The Guardians of the Balance, inspired by the sacrifices and victories of Maya and her team, continued their work with unwavering resolve. Each world they touched became a beacon of its own, adding to the lattice of hope that stretched across existence. As the years turned to decades, Maya's name became legend. Her story was told in countless worlds, her courage a symbol of what could be achieved when beings of different origins and beliefs united for a common cause. But for Maya herself, it was never about glory, it was about the light. One evening, as she stood on the observation deck of the station, her gaze fixed on the shimmering expanse of the multiverse, she was joined by Nadia. The younger Guardian had grown into her role, her confidence and determination shining through in every action. Do you ever think about how it all started? Nadia asked, her voice soft. Maya smiled faintly. Every day, she said, I think about the rift, about the man who warned me, about the alien who helped us. They set us on this path, and it's our responsibility to see it through. Nadia nodded, her expression thoughtful. Do you ever wonder if the void can really be defeated? Or if this battle will just go on forever? Maya's gaze remained fixed on the stars. The void is a part of the balance, she said. It's not something we can destroy, but something we have to contain. As long as we stand together, as long as we protect the light, we'll keep it at bay. The station's systems hummed softly, their rhythm steady and reassuring. Maya turned to Nadia, her smile growing. And if the next generation is anything like you, I think we'll be just fine. Nadia laughed, her cheeks flushing. You're too kind, Captain, she said. But thank you. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from the console. Maya moved to the controls, her curiosity piqued. A new signal had appeared, its patterns unlike any they had seen before. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed to resonate with the Nexus, its energy familiar yet alien. Another signal? Nadia asked, leaning over her shoulder. Maya nodded, her heart quickening. It's coming from the far edge of the network, she said. A region we haven't explored yet. The signal grew stronger, its patterns forming a map that pointed to a distant convergence point. The data suggested that this point was different from any they had encountered before, a place where the balance between light and shadow was perfectly maintained. It could be a natural nexus, Maya said, her her voice filled with wonder. A place where the balance has existed for eons, untouched by the void. Nadia's eyes widened. If that's true, she said, it could change everything. The team prepared for the journey, their excitement tempered by caution. The stabilizer was calibrated to create a rift that would transport them to the convergence point, and the station buzzed with anticipation as the mission began. When the rift opened, it revealed a realm of breathtaking beauty. The sky was a canvas of swirling colors, and the ground was covered in crystalline structures that sparkled with an inner light. The air was alive with energy, each breath a reminder of the balance that permeated the space. At the center of the realm stood a massive structure, a nexus that pulsed with a steady, harmonious light. It was pristine, untouched by corruption, a testament to what the balance could achieve when left undisturbed. Maya stepped forward, her heart filled with awe. "This is it," she said softly. "This is what we've been fighting for." As the team explored the nexus, they discovered inscriptions that detailed the history of the balance. The writing spoke of a time when the void and the light were one, a singular force that split into two to create the multiverse. The balance was not a battle, but a dance, a constant interplay of creation and destruction. "The void isn't our enemy," Maya said, her voice tinged with realization. "It's a part of the whole, and if we can maintain the balance, we can coexist." The team returned to their station with a renewed sense of purpose. The nexus they had discovered became a symbol of hope, a reminder that the multiverse was not a battleground, but a tapestry woven from light and shadow. Maya spent her remaining years ensuring that the lessons of the nexus were passed on to future generations. When she finally retired, she left the station in the hands of Nadia and the new Guardians, confident that the balance was in good hands. And as she looked out at the stars one last time, the light of the nexus illuminating her face, she felt a deep sense of peace. The battle for the balance was eternal, but so was the light. And as long as the light burned, there was hope, a hope that no darkness could extinguish. Years turned into centuries, and the light of the nexus continued to shine. The network of beacons expanded across the multiverse, connecting civilizations that had once been isolated. The lessons of the balance, of unity, of coexistence between light and shadow became the foundation of a new era. The guardians of the balance grew in number, their ranks filled with beings from countless worlds. Each brought their unique perspective and strength, their contributions weaving a tapestry of resilience and hope. The station, once a lone outpost in the fight against the void, became the heart of the Nexus network, a symbol of what could be achieved when worlds came together. Maya's story became legend, her name spoken with reverence in every corner of the multiverse. But her legacy was more than her name. It was the unity she had inspired, the spark of hope she had ignited. Her actions echoed through time, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, the light could endure. One day, as Nadia stood before the crystalline vessel that housed the Nexus's energy, a young guardian approached her. The guardian's eyes shone with curiosity, their expression filled with determination. "Is it true," the guardian asked, "that Maya saw the void as part of the balance? That she believed we could coexist?" Nadia smiled, her gaze softening. "It's true," she said. "Maya understood something that many of us struggle to grasp, that the void isn't our enemy. It's a part of the whole. And if we can maintain the balance, we can live in harmony." The guardian nodded, their resolve evident. "Then we'll keep fighting," they said, "not to destroy but to protect, to ensure the balance endures." Nadia watched as the guardian walked away, their words a reflection of the hope that had guided them all. She turned back to the vessel, its light steady and warm, and placed her hand on its surface. "Maya," she whispered, "you were right. The light endures." As the multiverse continued to grow, the Nexus remained a constant, a beacon of unity, a testament to the power of connection. The void's presence, though ever-present, was no longer a source of fear, but a reminder of the delicate dance that bound existence together. And as the stars shimmered with infinite possibilities, the light of the Nexus burned bright, a promise that no matter how dark the void, the spark of hope would always prevail. For the battle for the balance was eternal, but so was the light. And as long as there were guardians to protect it, the multiverse would endure, a living testament to the strength of unity, the beauty of diversity, and the unbreakable power of hope. In the farthest reaches of the multiverse, where the light of the Nexus barely touched, a new rift began to form. Its edges shimmered with a strange, ethereal energy, its surface rippling like water. But unlike the chaotic breaches of the past, this rift was different. It was calm, deliberate, and filled with a light that felt both ancient and new. A group of guardians, stationed at the edge of the network, approached the rift with a mix of caution and curiosity. Among them was Nadia, now a seasoned leader, her experience etched into every movement. She stood at the forefront, her gaze steady as she studied the anomaly. "What do you think it is?" one of the younger guardians asked, their voice tinged with awe. Nadia didn't answer immediately. She stepped closer to the rift, her hand hovering over its surface. The energy it emitted was warm, inviting, and filled with a resonance that seemed to echo in her very soul. "It's an invitation," she said finally, her voice soft. "A call to something greater." The Guardians exchanged glances, their curiosity growing. Nadia turned to them, her expression resolute. "Prepare the stabilizer," she said. "We're going through." As the rift stabilized, its surface became clearer, revealing a world of breathtaking beauty. The sky was a cascade of colors, and the ground was a field of shimmering crystals that seemed to hum with life. In the distance, a structure rose, a spire of light and shadow, its presence both commanding and serene. The Guardians stepped through the rift, their senses overwhelmed by the vibrant energy of the realm. As they moved toward the spire, a figure emerged, a being of light and shadow, its form radiating both power and tranquility. "Welcome," the being said, its voice resonating in their minds. "You have answered the call. You are the stewards of the balance, and your journey is far from over." Nadia stepped forward, her heart pounding. "What is this place?" she asked. The being's gaze softened. "This is the source," it said, "the heart of the balance. From here, all worlds are connected, and from here, the light of the nexus flows." The Guardians stood in awe as the being extended a hand, its light merging with the spire. The structure pulsed, its energy spreading across the realm in waves of color and sound. It was a vision of unity, a reminder of what they had fought to protect. "The balance is eternal," the being said, "and so is your duty. As long as you stand together, the light will endure." Nadia nodded, her resolve unshaken. "We'll protect it," she said, "no matter what." The being smiled, its form glowing brighter. "Then go," it said, "carry the light, and know that as long as it burns, the multiverse will endure." As the Guardians returned to their station, their hearts were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The light of the Nexus burned brighter than ever, its warmth a promise to all who followed in their footsteps. And as the rift closed behind them, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, their light a testament to the enduring power of unity, hope, and the eternal dance of the balance. For the battle for the balance was eternal, but so was the light. And as long as there were stewards to carry it forward, the multiverse would thrive, a living testament to the strength of connection and the unyielding power of hope.